now, the Duval Rundown, driven by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, home of the lifetime warranty.
Good morning. Welcome to a Friday edition of Duval Rundown. I'm Hayes Carline. Please be joined as always on Friday with Rick Ballou. You can hear Rick's insights into the night with Rick Ballou. Rick, good morning. How you doing?
Never better. Fired up. Good game last night. We got one tonight. Saturday, Sunday, Monday as well. Boy, Houston was ferocious last night defensively. Buffalo's lost now 3 games on the road. So, I've said it all year, and I think you'd agree with me. This thing is wide open right now in the NFL. I mean, you could literally pick 7 or 8 teams, I think, and make a case that they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm glad you started us there because I completely agree. I actually thought it was better for the Jags if Houston won because, look, if you can somehow end up in a scenario where Mahomes and Josh Allen miss the postseason, then really it is wide open. I mean, and we'll see. Houston still has an incredibly difficult path. And they are playing great defensively. I mean, I don't even think maybe you could put Denver in the mix. The Eagles have had moments, but the Eagles got torched one game by Jackson Dart. I mean, Houston has been remarkable at what they've been able to do. And yeah, you're right. They ate that Buffalo, offense up like Jaws on the Kittner Kid. I mean, it was just unbelievable effort from Houston. So yeah, the Texans are obviously still in it, but I think if from a Jags perspective, the Bills drop another game. The Bills still have a tough path. When you look at it, they have to go to Pittsburgh, they have to go to New England, and they have a home game against Philly. So if you could somehow end up in a scenario where, whether the Jaguars win the South or in the wild card mix, but if you can somehow eliminate Kansas City and Buffalo out of this thing, I think the Ravens are going to win the North. I think Lamar is going to be in play. But I mean, if you don't have Mahomes just by himself would be a massive story. But if you then add Josh Allen to that, obviously we know Joe Burrow won't be in the tournament. The Bengals aren't going to be able to make up enough ground to get in. The thing's wide open. So even if you're the Jags and you're like the 7 seed, is anybody really going to be afraid of Bo Nix or Drake May early in the? I mean, I could absolutely see this thing turning on its head. But obviously, if the Jags can fight their way to, the highest seed possible, heck, they may host the divisional round because I think not to your point, not only is it wide open, I think that wild card round in the AFC, you could see a ton of upsets.
Yeah, home field is not what it once was, especially during wild card weekend. And, I know it's hard on Jags fans because the point is accurate. I mean, knock Buffalo out, and therefore, you wanting Houston to win last night. Same thing on Sunday at 1:00. I mean, the feeling is without any question, you want Indy to lose, Jacksonville to win. They're 1 game out as you get ready for week 13. But the other side of it is, do you chop the head off the snake? Do you want Kansas City to lose and Indy to win so you knock Mahomes out of the tournament and, take your chances on Daniel Jones and Bo Nix and Dre Make and quarterbacks of that stature compared to guys who've been through it so many times, like, particularly Mahomes and then Allen. So, I mean, this league is just as open as I can remember, and it's also deeply being affected by attrition. I mean, you have 4 more quarterbacks who are out. Davis Mills is 3-0. I mean, there's a lot of people who believe that Jacksonville would rather face Kyler Murray than what Jacoby Brissett is doing right now. He's not the problem in Arizona. I mean, he threw it 57 times last week, 47 completions. That's an NFL record for the most completions ever. Problem with Arizona is they can't run the football. Going in that they are a one-dimensional team. Jacksonville's very good against the run, but they're suspect against the pass. So, I think we're headed towards a 4-hour football game on Sunday where we're going to see pass after pass after pass. And frankly, Hayes, I think that includes Trevor Lawrence. I think this becomes the week where, instead of game managing like he has done as of late, I do give him credit for those last 6 drives against Vegas, led him the points. He put him in position in overtime before the penalty on Chuma Edoga. But I kind of believe that on Sunday, this is a game where Trevor Lawrence is going to have to do it with his arm, as much as Jacksonville has done the last several weeks with their legs.
And he should be able to see favorable looks because the Cardinals are going to have to, I think, sell out on the run. I mean, the Cardinals defensively, they're 16th against the run. So they're dead in the middle of the league. They're as average as you can be at stopping the run. And the Jaguars have refound their stride when it comes to that. They were, top 4 in September. Then they fell off the pace a little bit. Now they've picked it back up. They're 8th. So they're in the top quadrant in this league running the football. And you have to think that's where it's going to start with Liam Cohen. Not to reflect too much back on the Chargers win, because obviously we've had a whole week to talk about that. But one thing that I think you hope translates over is the penalties. If you can allow Liam Cohen to call plays where he is an enviable down and distance, then he is so elite at it. And I think that's been part of the frustration is they've had so many procedural pre-snap penalties that have just, it just makes it harder. And when they finally played a clean game, boy, it really showed up. And to your point, it allowed Trevor Lawrence to have a very efficient performance in that second half.
Yeah, both teams kind of went opposite ways. We know that Jacksonville led the NFL in penalties. They had 1. And then, you look at Jonathan Gannon, who's really up against it. He's starting to sound a little bit like Belichick with those very short answers. He's feeling the pressure. They've lost 7 of 8, 3 in a row. They had 17 penalties last week in that loss. 17. Absolutely amazing. So, teams have gone opposite ways as far as that. And I think that's big. I mean, Jacksonville, even last week, in a blowout, that call on BJ Green II was just absolutely awful. And then how about the NFL? Instead of admitting that they're wrong, they doubled down and find the undrafted rookie, 17,000 plus. Just makes absolutely no sense. But we've seen how penalties have hurt Jacksonville. It destroyed them in Houston during the comeback. And, we remember Travis Hunter, even early on the year at Cincinnati, that pass interference call. So I think the reputation goes along with penalties. If there's a debatable call, if you are a highly penalized team, I think the officials are going to throw the flag. So this is encouraging to see what Jacksonville did a week ago. And I think that was kind of lost in the shuffle because they were so good offensively, defensively, special teams, and coaching that perhaps we forgot about the fact that they only had 1 penalty.
Let's talk about the injury situation for the Jaguars. Trayvon Walker is certainly a concern. He hasn't practiced with a knee injury. Obviously, today will be a big day in terms of getting some information on Trayvon when they announce, his game designation. And hopefully they'll have him. But it does look like they're going to be getting some guys back. What are your thoughts on some of the players that they haven't had that may be able to play in Arizona?
Looks like they're going through the same routine they did with Devin Lloyd, where there was a lot of thinking that he would be back, but it would take an extra week with Brenton Strange. I totally believe that he gets cleared from that window. It may be as early as today, but I expect him to travel to Arizona tomorrow and play on Sunday. I think that's very encouraging. I'm kind of mixed on Brian Thomas Jr. My own feeling is this is the week. Others have said, not so fast. Let's give him one more Sunday. I think if you were a betting man, and I am not, he is not going to play. Jordan Lewis, all of a sudden, you look at Jarian Jones, who's played some really good football. He's been out, and he wasn't spotted again yesterday at practice. So right now, I don't know if you can rely on Jones as being healthy. You don't want to force anyone back, especially with a neck injury. But I'm under the belief right now that I think Lewis does play this weekend. The two I do not know about are Anton Harrison and certainly Trayvon Walker. I've always been one of those who believes, Hayes, that if you go out with an injury, your chances of playing the next week are pretty slim. So that would apply to Greg Newsome. But if you are injured and you come back and play like Trayvon Walker, typically you are able to go that next week. I don't know if that's going to work that way now for Walker. It's too bad, man. The guy's had the wrist, and the guy now has a knee. He's playing such good football, but he's just not 100%. Maybe that is best case scenario. Just sit him down for a week. You hate to say it because, I mean, they're lacking on the pass rush. And look what they did last week. They sat down Agba, and they went with the 2 rookies, and they both produced, in Green Jr. and Strigow. So, I mean, 16 guys on the injury report this week. It's going to be interesting to see what happens 90 minutes before kickoff on Sunday.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's not great on the Arizona side either. Jacob Simon's helping us out on Duval Rundown. Jacob, thank you so much. Let's say hello to our sponsor.
I'm Rick Ballou, Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, proud partner of the Jaguars. Drive with confidence. Every new vehicle comes with our exclusive lifetime warranty. 7030 Commonwealth Avenue or online at jackswest.com.
Nice job putting that bow on, Jacob. Did you notice that? Jacob put the bow on the vehicle there. He did a great job.
Jacob does everything, handles it all for us. A man of many talents, and we certainly appreciate him running Duval Rundown. Rick, let's talk about the challenge the Jaguar defense will have. You mentioned it. Arizona really doesn't run the ball at all. They're 24th in the league, and you have to think some of that's Kyler Murray, who's been, obviously isn't going to play in this game. So they don't run the ball well. Trey Benson's window has been activated, the talented running back out of FSU. We'll see if he's going to play. But they really don't have anything at running back that should terrify the Jaguars. And the Jaguars are elite at stopping the run. They're second in the league. So to me, this comes down to Jacoby Brissett and getting him to move off his spot. If Jacoby Brissett can be comfortable in the pocket, he can dissect anybody, as we have seen. I mean, his numbers this year are very strong. 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 67% completion, passer rating almost to 100. So, and he started 5 games. So it's a pretty good sample size. But if you can get him moving, that's when his game really starts to suffer. So again, the pass rush is going to be a storyline for every game the Jaguars play because it's been either non-existent or it's been great. There's been very little in between. What are your expectations for how Anthony Campanile will try to get after Brissett, particularly if Trayvon is inactive?
Yeah, and once again, Jaguar fans have heard this now for a 3rd consecutive week, actually a 4th consecutive week, if you go back to the Seattle game or 4 out of the last 5 games. Cardinals offensive line's beaten up. They don't know if their right guard or right tackle are going to be able to play. And then, Hayes, you look at the wide receivers and the running backs who are down. I think, number one, if you could find a way to cover Trey McBride, who is so good, and, the Jags are bottom 5 in the league when it comes to covering the tight end. It seems like we almost have this discussion weekly. But, 50% pressure rate a week ago. Where did that come from with Jacksonville? We talked about how much they were really struggling, not only with sacks, but quarterback hits and doing things as far as rushing 4 and maybe sending extra guys. Anthony Campanile with a tremendous game plan last week. I think you're going to see a little bit more of that. Again, I think it's a fresh opportunity. We're seeing Smoot inside a little bit more than he played earlier in the year. But, these young guys now, undrafted, hungry. Andrews used to say that to me about being hungry, the former Florida State defensive coordinator. He would talk about his players. Are they hungry? Yeah, you can see their bones. They're that hungry. They're searching for a meal. And I think there is a good opportunity here. I also think, there have been times, I go back to Joe Burrow, where they blitzed the guy you're not supposed to blitz, and it worked before the injury. Then against Matt Stafford, the exact opposite happened. So, I think once again, covering the tight end is the most difficult thing that they're going to have to do. But I think they have an opportunity here to get to the quarterback. With Walker out, you know what that means again. They're going to double up on Hines Allen. There's no question about that. So that's going to leave other players an opportunity to have a big game here against the Cardinals on Sunday.
And it could be a player like Dennis Gardeck, former Cardinal. So this game is going to be very personal to him, and he's already somebody that plays with a very high motor, high level of intensity. So, Dennis Gardeck could certainly be an X factor in this thing for the Jaguars as well. Probably the biggest storyline that's hung over this week, because there's not a lot of juice in the matchup. I mean, Arizona, to your points, lost 7 of 8. These teams almost never play. So, there's not a lot to really grab onto like what we've had for the most part of this season when the Jaguars were playing, pretty much good team after good team after good team. But as you look at it, it has been that, all right, you guys were livid pissed after the Texans collapse and you took it out on the Chargers. Now, can they play close to that? You can't expect them to play that way, but that was extraordinary. But can you play 85% of that game and keep that edge, keep that intensity against the Cardinals, where now all you're hearing all week is how dominant you were, how great you are, where you stand in the playoffs, all that stuff. I'm interested in seeing how they handle it.
Well, here's the way that I look at it. If they don't go out and win this game, then I know nothing about this football team. I cannot tell you anything about this. I mean, they legitimately, you have no idea on any given Sunday. I mean, for what they did a week ago, that absolutely shocked me. Didn't surprise me. It shocked me. So I've gotten a lot wrong. I thought they'd win in Houston. They blew a 19-point lead. I kind of thought that they were going to get boat raced last week by LA, and they destroyed them. So the momentum is with them again. And how do they react? I mean, right now I've looked at this game every possible way that I can. And I got Jacksonville going out there and winning. They've lost 4 in a row to the Cardinals. They haven't played since 2021. I don't think anyone remembers anything. There's only a couple of guys on the team who were here in 2021. But this is where, it becomes kind of schizo. If you're a fan, it's like, come on, look at what they just did 5 days ago. You should be able to carry that with you. They're a better team. I'm not saying they've checked out in Arizona, but you got a lame duck coach. You got a backup quarterback. Well, I happen to think it's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. But you got a team here in Arizona that's looking towards the finish line, that's looking towards wrapping this thing up, getting out to Cancun and everywhere else and enjoy a vacation before the offseason gets underway. Jacksonville loses this game. I don't even know how Jaguar fans are going to react. I mean, you just don't know anything about this football team.
Yeah, without a doubt. I like the Jaguars as well. Do you have a feel for score?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I do. Arizona still puts up quite a few points a game, 22-4 a game, but they give up almost 26. They're 16th against the run defensively, 20th against the pass defensively. I think Jacksonville, they've scored 29 plus in 3 games. I'm looking at a 34-24 Jaguars victory. A very high scoring and long football game on Sunday. The over is in. The Jaguars, are giving up 3, but they're going to cover by 10. So I think it's all Jacksonville out in the desert on Sunday.
Nice. I like the Jaguars as well. I'll go 27-23 Jags. A little closer than, I think it'll be a little bit of drama in this one, but ultimately I think the Jaguars will get it done. And again, it'll be fascinating to see what happens around the league in week 12 and where the Jaguars fall. They're the 7th seed now, but really have a chance to creep up to the 5 seed with a win in Arizona. And again, depending on what happens in the Colts-Chiefs game, you may look up and they're 1 game back of the Colts in the division. So should be really fun to see. It's great that Jaguars that we're having these conversations in year 1 with Liam Cohen of, being able to scoreboard watch. It's been a while since we've really been able to do that. But Rick, great stuff. Certainly appreciate it. We'll look forward to listening to Into the Night tonight and look forward to catching up with you next Friday, hopefully talking about another Jaguars win.
Look forward to it, Hayes. Have a great weekend to our listeners as well. Should be a lot of fun coming up.
Absolutely. We'll be back on Monday with Frank Frangie. Until then, thanks for watching Duval Rundown, and go Jags.